Ready?
Great.
Are you excited?
Yeah, I'm very excited. Are you excited?
I am so excited. Hi, everybody. I'm Kelly, and welcome to a very special episode of Shoesday. This is a show where we talk about shoes with our friends, and each episode is a different theme. I am so excited to welcome the coach of our Gazelle Elite Racing team and a man who has many races under his own belt, Sam Butler. Woo! Thank you so much for being here, Sam.
Yeah, my pleasure, Kelly. Thank you for having me. This is going to be a lot of
fun. You're someone who's been around racing for a long time, and that's why I'm so excited to have you on the episode today, because this is episode 3, the super episode. We are switching it up, and instead of reviewing specific super shoes, we are diving into their history, and we're going to answer the question that we get the most often. Are they worth it? Do they work? What do they feel like? We are going to talk about that, all of it, this episode, so don't touch the dial. This is going to be a fun one. Sam, I want to take you back to summer 2016. The number one song on the chart is One Dance by Drake.
Yes.
Everybody was walking around with their phones in the air, looking like they were trying to get service, but they were actually playing Pokemon Go.
Okay.
Did you ever play?
So no.
Okay.
No, I did not, but I do remember the walking around and just wondering if people are going to just go into the street chasing for these.
Yes,
of course.
Yeah.
Honestly, whatever gets you moving.
Yes,
right?
Yes,
of
exactly.
If it's that, it's that.
Exactly.
If it's what we're about to talk about, even better.
Right. Well, moving on. Perhaps you might recall this meme. It was a very popular meme at the time.
Yes, of course.
Yes, and it continues to be a symbol for that time period.
Of course.
Then there was the Rio Olympics, and that is where our story for episode 3 begins.
I love it.
So Nike athletes were competing in shoes in Rio that from far away looked like the Zoom Streak. But when you looked up close, there were obvious differences. And this became known as the hidden launch of the Vaporfly 4%. It was the first super shoe of its kind, and the world was just buzzing.
Of course.
They wanted to know where they could get these shoes after these athletes did so amazingly well, which we will talk about later in the episode. The 4% was derived from the lab tests that showed that the shoe could improve your running economy by 4%. And this incredible improvement in efficiency just made it irresistible for athletes. And so everybody wanted their hands on them. So let's back it up here a little bit and let's get into what a super shoe actually is.
Of course. And great question. I love that, Kelly. But I am going to throw us off course just a little bit if you're okay with it. I know it's a little gutsy for my debut here, but I feel like it's important to give credit where credit's due. Okay. So
all right.
In the late 1980s, Brooks launched a really funny sounding model called the Fusion and Fission. Have you ever heard of it?
A little bit, but tell me more.
Of course. So first documented carbon plate shoe that we actually know of. Okay. So it sat in between the midsole and the outsole, creating that propulsion system, the same thing we talk about now. And then still in the 1990s, there was other players, even before this big launch that we know of so well, that were put in racing flats, but the feedback was always, it's just too firm, okay? So anything that was tested, while we saw some really cool results, was kind of like tossed out.
Okay.
It just didn't come to fruition, so.
Okay, so you're telling me on the stand right now that the first carbon-plated shoe was actually in the 1990s.
Yes, I'll look in the camera and say, yes. The first one was way prior to the dates we're going to talk about.
Okay, well, this is breaking news, Sam.
Yes.
But can we get back into programming now?
Okay, yes. Thank you for my time. And yes, I'd say we're about there. You can cue the meme again.
Perfect. A super shoe is a shoe with supercritical foam layered with a carbon fiber plate. So every brand has their own recipe of supercritical foam, but Nike really struck first in 2016.
After years of client innovation, Nike finally hit it at 2016, like we've been talking about when they debuted that carbon plated shoe mixed in. So after years or decades, I'll say, of testing, they finally showed their first worthy subjects. And the men, of course, swept, and then the women won gold at 2016.
Now we're talking.
Yeah, now we're talking. And the super shoe was born. From the Olympics, the prototype finally hit the Breaking 2 project, where Kipchoge runs 2 hours, 25 seconds, which at that time, and honestly, still is like incredible.
Yeah.
Like this is monumental, not just for him as an athlete, but obviously for the product. And we finally got our hands on this in the middle of 2017 with the Vaporfly 4%.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's what we reference. It's like that's what people are lining up for.
Yes.
It is insane, but truly game-changing and true 4% boost in running economy.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And from there came some moments that we will never forget.
Yeah.
Kipchoge grabs the world record in Berlin in 2018. Bridget Koski demolished the world record in Chicago in 2019. And then my personal favorite, Des Linden, winning Boston.
Of course.
In the Hyperion Elite prototype. And I mean, just truly iconic.
Of course.
Michigan woman. Yeah. Whenever I feel bad about training in the winter, I just tell myself, Michigan built Des Linden. Michigan built Des Linden. And then I don't feel so bad. So
it is so true though, right? Like what a moment for, Michiganders, but also just running in our country. And not built just from that shoe, but definitely just a part of that moment.
Yes.
And what propelled her to that result that day. So special.
Sure.
But talking about that has me thinking I want to poke at you a little bit here.
Okay.
Tell me what your first super shoe experience was.
My first experience was this past spring at the Riverbank Run in Grand Rapids. So it's the largest 25K in the country, actually, right here in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And I ran it in the Alpha Fly 3s. The training was there, the nutrition was there, but I do really think that the shoes made a difference. It made it a very special event. And it really felt like my coming out party. I had trained so hard for this after being out of the racing world for a long time after having kids. And this was like my first release into the wild. Yeah. And having something like a super shoe to really, it was a celebration of that. And so the super shoe did not make the time, of course. It was all the commitment to training and dialing in the nutrition and all the things. But it just made it that much more special. And I really do think that they made a difference. So,
of course. And honestly, thank you for sharing that, because so true, right? Like the super shoe, it doesn't make the time, right? We put in all the work. We each have our story to tell, and everything that surrounds race day. And this is more just like icing on the cake, and also taking care of your body and putting it in something that's going to help it recover faster and, most importantly, run fast.
I'm really glad that you mentioned recovery, because it's not just about running fast, but how well we recover after the fact. And the supercritical foam is a huge part of that. The super shoe models from earlier years that we mentioned at the top of the episode, they didn't have those supercritical foams. Yeah. And so the shoes were too hard. It was really hard on people's bodies. And so the shoes didn't last. They just weren't sustainable. Yeah. But now we have all of these awesome shoes like the Alpha Fly and the Metaspeed and the Adios Pro with these carbon fiber plates and the supercritical foams. And it leads me to believe that super shoes aren't beneficial just from a propulsion perspective, but also the ability to reduce wear and tear on the bodies. And so we get questions all the time. are super shoes worth it? Can they work for me?
Of course.
And what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, those are really good questions. And we see studies, right? Like from Dustin Joubert, where, it's stating that we have to run a certain set pace, like 7:45 per mile to really get that propulsion benefit out of the super shoes. And a lot of people will come into the store and lead with that, right? And say like, no. Like a super shoes, carbon plated, things like that. Like I'm not fast enough for that. And it's not just about the carbon plate. The carbon plate, of course, provides that firm base that's going to propel you forward. But, we're rapidly improving with our shoe chemistry and the supercritical foams that you've talked about.
Yep.
And that's something that everybody can benefit from.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that. And I had an experience recently with this. It was with the Brooks Hyperion Max 3. And it's not a carbon plate, it's a nylon plate, but similar scenario where I was using it for an interval workout. And during the warm-up and the off intervals, it felt good. It was, fits really well. The cushion feels good. But when I turned up the speed, oh man, they sing.
Yeah, of course. And that's a fun ride. I like those a lot. I'll have to try those. And someone else was just telling me about that too. That's cool. I think the other unsung hero when we put these on is the day after. So Kalamazoo Marathon 2024, I'm waking up the next day, expecting to be just kind of like hobbling around like I normally would.
Yeah, like you see those videos of people like the day after their marathons walking sideways down the stairs because they're so sore.
Yeah, like these are the intensities of the effort I put forward that I'm really thinking. But I'm moving around with my daughter a little bit, and of course sore, but like I felt a little bit better than I had in the past. And of course, there's a ton of variabilities that lead to that. Yeah. But I felt like it was good enough for me to just go for a little shakeout and see what the body was telling me after that race. And
you feel like the shoes played a part in that?
Yeah, I feel like things went way better than expected. Of course, still some hobbling. But overall, it felt like, along with other common denominators, like this was a contributor to my recovery after that marathon.
And there's so many different great models to choose from. So, you ran Kalamazoo in the Adios Pro. Yeah. I love the Pro 4s. They have a little bit more of a rounded toe box. So if you have a wider forefoot, that may be a really great fit for you. Whereas, Alphas run a little bit more narrow. Other ones have a little bit of a wider platform, so makes them inherently more stable because there's a little bit of a wider base.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important to come in, try them on, see what feels best for your foot type specifically, or we're always open online at gazellesports.com.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a ton of great options, obviously, right? All these are great tools for training in any regards. Of course, we like to save these for race day, but there is a space for this in your intensity days, like you shared with the Hyperion. We think about the other models that are up for play, like the Boston 13, the Super Blast. These are the late build moves where you can really pair your intensity with some good recovery because of these supercritical foams.
Yeah, and it's build time. We're almost there.
Yeah, it's about time. Yeah, so it is truly no better time to figure out exactly what works for you and recover right.
With these super trainers, like you just mentioned, the Boston, the Super Blast, those are for the training runs. You can put a lot of miles in those babies. The super shoes that we've talked about this episode, so the supercritical foam with the carbon fiber plates, those you will get the most benefits out of them if those are for race day only, and that is what we recommend. You only get about 150 to 200 miles out of those because they're so lightweight, because of that foam, because of the plate. They are for race day or race simulating workouts.
Yeah, of course. They're for when it matters most, right?
Yes.
And I'm so excited that we're talking about this today, right? This month, because the time is coming up now, right? Grand Rapids Marathon, Detroit Marathon, Indy, This is a time where we have to kind of make these decisions on like who's going to be with us on race day. So so no better time than now to dive into this topic and to figure out what works for you.
Thank you so much for joining us. This has been episode 3 of Tuesday Shoesday, the super episode. Sam, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
It's been an absolute pleasure. We have 7 stores across Michigan, so if you are local, please come see us. Otherwise, we are always open at gazellesports.com. Until next time, I'm Kelly.
And I'm Sam.
Keep moving.